Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, when you retire, you have to make huge decisions regarding your benefits on what you want to leave behind if something happens to you. One of those big decisions is survivor benefits, which means if you pass away, a piece of your pension gets passed on to your spouse. But we see that with survivor benefits, with this decision, a few huge mistakes are made. And I don't want that to happen to you or, of course, your spouse, because this decision doesn't just impact you, it very much includes and impacts your family. So today, that's what we're going to dive into so you don't make these mistakes. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dallin Hawes. I'm a financial planner. I serve retiring federal employees every single day, and I love it. So let's talk about it. Number one. The first thing to understand with survivor benefits, again, is when you retire, on your retirement application, on the application itself, is when you make this election. You say, look, I want a piece of if I pass, I want a piece of my pension to keep going. Because if you don't elect this, if you pass away, your pension is gone, right? It is only guaranteed for your lifetime unless you elect a survivor benefit. And there's three options. There's basically the full survivor, where if you pass away, your spouse can inherit 50%, 50% of your pension. And though it's not free, it costs 10% of your pension when you're both alive. So let me give you an example. Let's say your pension, just in a very simplified example, let's say your pension is $100 a month. If you pass away, your spouse can inherit $50 a month. But you don't actually receive the full 100 when you're alive because you got to pay for the survivor benefit. You only receive 90 when you're alive. So you receive 90 when you're alive, but if you pass away, 50 per month gets inherited to your spouse, gets passed to your spouse. That is how it works. Now that's the full. You don't have to do the full. There is partial as well, where it will cost you 25% of your pension. Oh, no, let me back up. It won't cost you 25%. They will receive 25%, and it'll cost you 5%. So in our example of a $100 per month pension, you will only receive $95 when you're alive, and they would inherit $25. So they still get a survivor benefit, but it's just not as generous. And last but not least, there is the zero option, where you don't have to elect a survivor benefit. It's not required, unless, of course, you were divorced, and in your divorce decree, they require that you leave one for them. Other than that, for a normal current spouse, there is no requirement, okay? Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you fill out this application, if you don't want to elect the full survivor benefit, your spouse does have to give consent via signature, right? They have to sign, I'm okay not receiving the full one, okay? So they have to know about whatever decision you are making. So those are the options. What are the mistakes that we see? Well, there's a handful. Let's talk about it. Number one, obviously, the worst case is if you choose not to elect a survivor benefit, but your spouse really needed one. And there's a couple big issues with this. Number one, there are two reasons to elect survivor benefit. Number one is for the money, meaning, hey, if something happens to you, is there enough income so your spouse is going to be okay? Number two, and for most people, more importantly, health insurance. The government health insurance, or FEHB, is tied to this benefit. So let me give an example. If you are the federal employed spouse and you've carried the health insurance for your entire life, and you've always had a Self Plus One or family plan to cover your spouse as well, if you pass away and you do not leave a piece of your pension behind for your spouse, they lose your pension and they lose the health insurance. They cannot stay on your health insurance without a survivor benefit. The only exception to that is if they are a federal employee themselves and they have FEHB on their own working history, then yeah, they don't rely on it from you because they have it on their own. So if you don't elect a survivor benefit when you should, they may not have the income they need or the health insurance they need, which those two things in retirement are critically important, to have the health insurance you need and the income you need. Now, I have to mention, though, this is the second problem. that we see all the time. If you need survivor benefits, please elect it. Please do. There's nothing worse than leaving your spouse in a terrible position in retirement. However, if your spouse does not need survivor benefits, don't elect it. Let me explain what I mean. Survivor benefits is kind of like life insurance, where if you need it, fantastic, get some life insurance. However, if you don't, if you've got enough assets, enough stuff going on, enough money, basically, so if something happened to you, your spouse is going to be okay regardless. Like, they're going to be fine, right? Maybe they have their own investments. Maybe they have their own pension. Maybe they have their own stuff. They don't need more, right? Maybe they'd like more, but they just don't need it. If you don't have a need for life insurance, why spend all the money on the premiums? That's my opinion, okay? And maybe you have life insurance just for the emotional safety it brings, right? Security it brings, and that's okay. Survivor benefits is the same thing. If you need survivor benefits, please elect it. Your spouse will thank you forever. But if you don't, why pay for it? It's expensive. Let me give an example. So let's say your pension gross is $5,000 per month, let's say. If you elect survivor benefits, it's going to cost you $500 a month, and that's for the rest of your life, right? So $500 a month, how much is that per year? Well, that's $6,000 per year. So for the first 10 years, that's $60,000. Let's say you have a 20, 30-year retirement. That's easily 6 figures worth of cost. So it's very expensive. Now, if you need it, if your spouse needs it, it's worth it. It's worth it, but it's not the sort of thing that you should just willy-nilly just throw on there unless you need it, because it costs a lot of money that you could be using to do other things, whether to just go on those trips you want to go on, to enjoy your retirement, whatever you want to do, you can enjoy more of your money if you are very smart about this decision. If you elect it when you need it, but if you don't need it, don't elect it. Now, last but not least, when it comes to survivor benefits, deciding whether or not to leave a piece of your pension for your spouse, at the end of the day, what's our goal? Our goal is to be good to our spouse, right? To be responsible and not leave a mess, right? That's just put it in a nutshell, to make sure they're taken care of. So, what are the other things you probably should do to make sure your spouse is taken care of? Number one, do you have an estate plan? Most retirees don't. Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? You have those things you need. And I don't know your situation. I don't know exactly what estate documents you need. However, if you don't have what you need, okay, you know it. And this is another one of those things that if you have the things you need, things go smooth. If you don't, it can be a royal mess. It can be a royal mess. And you got to think through, what other things am I leaving for my spouse? Am I leaving my TSP? Are they my beneficiary on my TSP? What about my other retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, etc.? Are they my beneficiary? What about my life insurance? Are they my beneficiary? What about, for example, Social Security? If you're the higher earner, your Social Security is probably going to be the bigger of the two. And if you didn't know, there's something they call survivor benefits in Social Security as well. Now, in Social Security, you don't have to pay for the survivor benefits. It's actually just built into the system. But what it means is the higher earner's benefit can often get left behind for the lower earner's benefit. So, for example, if your benefit's $3,000 and your spouse's benefit is $1,500, if you pass away, they can often inherit your benefit, which is really, really helpful. However, you as the higher earner have a choice on when you start your own benefits. And I'm not going to go into Social Security super in depth here, but just know, if you start your benefits at 62, your benefits are going to be smaller. If you wait till 67, 70, etc., your benefits are going to be much, much bigger. And if you're the higher earner, your spouse is going to inherit that benefit probably one day, assuming they outlive you. So, when you start your benefits when you start your Social Security as a federal employee, that's the higher earner, it matters a lot. It will impact your spouse for the rest of their life as well. So you have to be smart cognizant of these decisions. All these decisions you make when it comes to your retirement, like survivor benefits and Social Security and estate planning, they all matter a lot, right? They all weave together to create what you've got going on and to decide, hey, if I pass away, do I leave a mess? That's what we're talking about. So I hope that's helpful. Hopefully gives you some context on some things to think about. And hopefully you got all these things down pat. If not, it's okay. That's normal. Start working on it, though, and take baby steps to get all these things done so you and your spouse can have a comfortable, worry-free retirement. Now, if you want help with this stuff, if you want a financial planner like one of us here at the firm to help you out to make sure you have an awesome retirement, you got your TSP maximize, save as much in taxes as possible, all these things, check out the description. We help feds with this stuff all the time. But otherwise, enjoy these videos. I hope this is helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.